Right. This should be all the legends. Should they hear me? Let's improvise here, legends. If we are moving and grooving here, legends, if we are rock and rolling, apologies about that. We are. I think we are good to go, legends. Legends, welcome back to another. Welcome back to another live stream. Sunday live streams are a little bit different. We're going to structure them out a little bit differently. Let's see if we can get that video display on. Not showing up. We don't know where it is. It's probably because it's on top. There we are. Hello, legends. How are we moving? Welcome back. Welcome back to another weekly outlook. Sundays, we like to take the time to review just kind of how conditions are looking as a whole. More importantly, what we could just expect in context to market conditions in its entirety. And then throughout the week, we like to review the trades that were fired away at, and just as a whole, what's been going on. So, with that, let's jump into it as a whole. What we're actually going to do here is a little bit different here, just to give you guys a little bit more of a summed up look across the board. We will quickly cycle through a bunch of these plays here, and we're just going to take a look as a whole, kind of if there are any possibilities or just overall opportunities in context to what's going on. We got the automated analysis in the way, and so with that, all we really need to do is kind of just see if it's an opportunity that we are interested in, and if it is, of course, we're going to go ahead and take a look a little bit deeper. So with that, legends, we're going to jump straight into it here. We're just going to go through each pair, and again, we're just going to cycle through. If it is something of our interest, then of course we will take a look. If it is not, then we are going to bench it, as I like to say, and move on. So let's jump into it. AUD pairs to begin with on the weekly time frame here. And we can just see here for the most part. Let me get my drawing tool out here. Here it is. Hello. All right. So we can see just for the most part, AUD pairs are definitely a little bit more ranged here. And we have been seeing that across the board. There isn't really much going on here in context of these pairs. They're just very, very choppy, very consolidated. We can see just price action has just been really range bound this entire way through, and you can just see the entirety of price is just, my goodness, my drawing tool. But the entirety of price is just really choppy. So it's not something that I would really be interested in. I would just kind of wait and see if you get any further type of movements. AUD-CHF, again, very similar. And I'm pretty sure most AUD pairs are going to kind of be in this range of a type of environment. AUD-CHF does have a little bit more of that bearish type of stance as a whole, but nonetheless, still nothing interesting. I wouldn't personally attack it. AUD-NZD, you can just see most of these AUD pairs here are within this range-bound environment. You know, you do get these short-term plays that you can trade, but again, really important that you just look at environmentally what is going on, and just a big reason why you're not necessarily going to get trades or pushes. And something that you want to always be mindful of is the higher time frames will fundamentally dictate how much of a movement you can expect from a smaller time frame case. And so if the higher time frames are unable to move, you are going to be restricted on the smaller time frames. So with that, weekly, daily, very, very consolidated for the moment. Not much going on here, especially in this most recent price action. You did recently have some pretty good AUD-JPY sells, which we can just see here. You can just see it broke through key structure. You can see a change. If you want to be like, oh, well, why did the toolkit not necessarily change color? Drop down to lightning, and you can take a look and just see that this will have definitely changed its color a little bit earlier. But as a whole, again, just pretty consolidated, not much. And now you are at a really significant point on AUD-JPY. So with that, you potentially could get maybe another slowdown into here and start looking for that leg back to the upside. It is a possibility that you can look for. This, if anything, probably one of the better plays on the JPY pairs because of where we are environmentally. And then AUD-USD, I'm pretty sure is going to be similar to the other AUD pairs, just very range in its entirety and its nature. And you're not really getting much going on within here. Again, you can obviously change the perspective with the tool, but as a whole, there really isn't much going on in context to the bigger picture. Right now, we can just see it's mainly consolidated, mainly range. AUD pairs, not much going on. JPY is really the only thing you have available. And the thing to take into consideration again is just JPY is more economically driven. Most AUD pairs are still really bearish in its really consolidated in its entirety. CAD-CHF, I think attempting to hit all-time lows, so you can keep selling this to the downside. Be mindful again when you do trade at all-time lows. You do want to be a little bit more careful in context to how you go about it, because you never really know when those bottoms are ultimately going to sit. So nonetheless, again, you could get another potential leg to the downside here. If not, probably price is going to start to stall out within this region, and you might start to have a short-term pullback. But again, predominantly bearish. You can see the heads-up display telling you exactly what you need to see. And so, yeah, buys for the moment, not necessary. CAD-JPY, probably more to the bear side. This might actually be a pretty good play because yen in its entirety is super strong, but you are at a pretty key region. We can see how we've respected when we have reached these areas. So be mindful again on CAD-JPY. You might actually get the slip. If not, again, similar context, starts to decelerate, starts to pull back. We'll see kind of across the board what you can expect in its entirety. And then CHF-JPY, we did break through a really major point in structure here. We are getting through another. You could expect a pullback just as you did here, but nonetheless, you are looking for that further continued movement to the downside. Really smooth to see as well, just how the trend lines are showing out. It's really nice, smooth, dotted line in context to the recent trend that did break. Can see successful continued movement. So nonetheless, the question is, do we just drop or do we pull back and then do we drop? So again, nonetheless, still looking for that trade. It's a matter of just which argument happens to take play first. Euro pairs. Let's take a look entirely what is going on with Euro. EA from a daily standpoint, not much. You can obviously see we are in a much bigger range here in its entirety. On the weekly here, simply just a bigger view of what is going on for a very long time. It's very range bound in its entirety. So again, not much to be expected within here. Short-term plays across the board. EA tied to the AUD pairs. So we'll see. Euro CAD, maybe continue moving to the upside. That's what I was thinking. But again, you can see on the weekly here, we are at some pretty sensitive points. So we could start to decelerate. The market is bullish in its entirety. Heads up displays are telling us that as well. So you could get another corrective movement to the upside. Otherwise, if we do break this, you would start to see a collapse back to the downside, failing to sustain above the previous highs. Basic arguments on there, but that's Euro CAD, not much. Euro CHF, pretty range bound in its entirety too. Hello, let's stay on that page. Let's not go anywhere. Trading view. So yeah, Euro AUD, pretty consolidated on that side as a whole. We can just see market is very range bound, so not much interest on there. Euro GBP, very similar in that regard as well. We can just see a very range bound market in its entirety, not much to go out on here. We can just see again market very range, very choppy, not something that I would necessarily be interested in. Just really see slow, choppy type of plays as a whole. It's just not something that you really want to be trading. And it goes back down to saying you don't necessarily need to be trading every market or every pair. You know, it's important to understand just environmentally what it is that is going on. You can even see on the daily time frame here, right? Like, you know, you get these lower lows that break, but you're only getting a push 85.05, drops maybe like 60, 70 points, right? It's like really not significant movement. And again, it's not something that I would genuinely be involved in. On a weekly here, range bound in its entirety. Not much more I can say about that. Most Euro pairs are seeming to show the same characteristics. Pretty ranged across the board. You know, you could get continued movements, but I wouldn't really stress about it for the moment. Probably Euro JPY, you're at that sensitive region like the other ones. You can definitely see here again. It's pretty significant. The question is, do we reject, start to pull off? It takes a couple weeks for that to actually take place, you know, for some type of deceleration, but we'll see. Obviously, market's bearish, but we are going to start fighting to the left here. So let's see. And then Euro USD, we did have that initial play, and we can see again that market in its entirety is pretty range bound. And so, yeah, not much to say on there. Moving on to the GBP pairs in its entirety, we can see, what can we see? Range. Again, most pairs are range. It could be just because we are in, that time period where we're moving into Q4, and so it is possible. Even on the daily time frame here, you can just still see we're within a smaller range than the bigger. So again, you know, these aren't plays unless you really get some type of movement that starts to give you that play. You want the market to move first. It makes it statistically easier to figure out what's going to happen next. Don't try to guess. Just let it move first, and then you get a much easier play. At pretty toppy points here on pound CAD, you can see we are just at pretty significant areas right here. So we will see again what happens within here. Could have potential sell setup to the downside. Can see a lot of deceleration and exhaustion taking place. So nonetheless, I would definitely go ahead and, you know, look for that potential break to the downside. It goes in confluence with just where you are environmentally on that higher time frame. But again, you want to wait for that confirmation. Don't just jump the gun. Pound CHF on this side here. What can we see? I don't know what we can see. On the weekly here, legends. Oh, hello. That's called lag right there. That's great. On the weekly, you might have further movement. You did just recently break. You do get this little bit of a correction. Could expect to continue movement to the downside short term. Be mindful because you are range bound. But let's go back. Let's see those drawings there. And then you could expect some type of, you know, continued movement, but again, you'd probably want to wait for some type of break, maybe a break of these lower lows. You can change the tool if you'd like. Pound JPY, pretty similar across the board at a really sensitive region in context to where we are. Might get that further pushed down, but you got to be mindful again, short term, just because of environmentally where you are sitting within, but you might have a further push down that could be extremely, extremely nice. And then the next, we do have pound New Zealand here. And we can see on pound New Zealand, we are pretty range bound in its entirety. On the monthly here, we can see that we are at a pretty significant region, pretty toppy. You can see We are at 1, we are at 2, we are at 3. So might hint some type of really strong sells coming in here. We are slowly starting to break down, but it is choppy because sentiment is still bullish. So you might get that short-term sell. NZD pairs across the board. We can see here, again, just really range bound in its entirety, not much going on. And we can just see environmentally, everything's very range, either at major tops or major bottoms. So for the moment, there aren't many plays, right? But what it's going to do at some point is it's going to set up a play. And that's really important to understand. Like right now, there's not much going on. There's not much that activity. Market is very range bound in its entirety. This could actually be a nice continued play to the downside. This is actually probably one of the better plays. I would definitely just wait for one more break, then you'll get a continued movement. But in its entirety, most pairs just seem to be very much similar environmentally. Yen is obviously the only ones that do have a little bit more of oomph to them because economically what's going on. But you can see again at pretty critical areas, could continue this descent or, you know, starts to wick out, and then you do get this short-term reversal back to the upside. Possibility, but for the most part, every pair seems pretty similar in context to just being at major points in its entirety, and we'll kind of see what happens in here. I would really wait for just a lot more confirmation on most of these pairs because it's just not worth it right now. You know, you really want to wait for some type of significant movement. Otherwise, you know, your trading is just going to be very consolidated in that way. Last but not least, on the dollar pairs here, major range since a very long time now. But within that, right, you did just get this recent short-term correction. You could expect a further. This is probably actually a really good play. Most dollar pairs look really good right now, actually. Yeah, I would definitely look for this to leg down. Just the question is, does it leg down here? Does it need to pull back a little bit further before it does? But weekly standpoint looks really good. And then if you want to buy, of course, I would definitely just be looking for some type of correction short term for the moment because of where we did move environmentally. And then probably the other USD pairs are going to be pretty cyclical as well at a pretty major low there. So you could expect some type of reversal here. So maybe that's just for USD CAD. But this is definitely looking pretty bullish in context to where it is. Environmentally, obviously, you still need some movements to take place here. But as a whole, you definitely want to see some type of correction, and then you can go. And then last but not least, our baby USD JPY here doing extremely well for us the entire way forward. And we can just see it at a major point, but we might break through and just expect a continued flush to the downside. On the weekly here, we can definitely see we're at some pretty sensitive areas. So we'll kind of see what's going to happen within there. And then on the daily here, we can see we are just continuing that bearish descent, but pretty choppy in its entirety. So FX across the board looks really, really consolidated. You need very few pairs that are kind of looking good, not looking good. It's more around just waiting for opportunities and then moving from there. Let's take a look at the precious metal space real quick here. Gold, silver, gold all-time highs last week. So shout out to those that did get involved in there. Now you are just looking for that continued movement to the upside. And so with that, you're just looking for another pullback, little correction. Look for that continuation, especially when you're at all-time highs. It's always better to have some type of pullback because then you can gauge a potential target in context to where you're looking for. And so that's gold. And then silver here at the same time is attempting to correct out for the moment, but we'll see again, not currently at previous highs, but follow suit with gold in its entirety. Weekly, I don't think there's much going on in context to where we are. Monthly, though, actually, you do have some pretty strong regions here to the left. So just be mindful in its entirety. But stuff that looks like it's going to continue higher, which is great. Let's jump over to the crypto side here real quick. On the crypto space here, we can definitely see BTC is trying to get out of this major corrective movement that is taking place here. Still bullish in the long term, but in the short term here, we can just see very consolidated right now. And so just again, looking for some type of play, some type of correction to kind of give us that indication that, hey, you can expect some type of further movements, but good just to see again, the bounce is taking place. in its entirety. So not much going on with the crypto space there. I think ETH is all going to follow suit. Pretty similar in that regard. Yeah, just pretty bearish, and in context to the entirety of it, you had some major points here, so probably going to start reversing off in the near term. This also comes in tandem with what was going on from the indices standpoint, and we'll jump over there real quick as well. And the indices here as a whole have been pretty bearish just for the last couple weeks, but now we are attempting to go back for an all-time high, so that would be great. We are choppy though on the daily. We can just see price action has started to change slowly, but this is natural when you get such an aggressive movement as this. You're going to have that continued fluctuation, but a little bit choppier. So if we can get another leg to the upside, you should see the crypto start to take off. And I'm pretty sure that's going to be pretty similar for S&P. Yep, you can just see the chart basically is the same. This one needs a little bit more, but wait for that confirmation, wait for that pullback, and go again. And then last but not least, NAS 100. Pretty similar across the board. This one nowhere near the same compared to the others. Wait for that confirmation though, and you will get that free flowing play. It looks like things are gearing up as a whole. And so the way I look at it, legends, FX is just at sensitive points. You just need to wait for something to set up, and you're going to have a great play because you are at really critical areas. Just wait. Again, lower time frames cannot move without the higher time frame approval. So with this, if smaller time frames are constricted because higher time frames are in more sensitive areas, if you attempt to trade those pairs, you will just simply have a lot more of a difficult time because they're not free flowing. And then in context to indices, they do look as if though they are going to rally for a new high. Dow looks to lead the way, S&P following, Nas right behind, and then cryptos seem to be taking a ripple effect with that. And then of course we do have our commodities as well hitting all-time highs, gold, and then silver looks to be following suit. And so yeah, as a whole, market does look pretty consolidated right now. There aren't like any really major free-flowing plays, and even like I showed you on some of the plays that are correcting from a daily standpoint on like a euro pound or something, they are moving maybe like 20-30 pips, right? So it's not really anything significant. We did get this question a lot, which was just like, how come there's no signals on some other plays? It's just because they're not available, right? They just haven't been free-flowing in that regard. And so yeah, not much else I can really say about conditionally as a whole. Markets just have been, and they're just showcasing. Nonetheless, a good example, again, just to see how automation is a reflection of that. If you're getting less trades being sent from an automated standpoint, it just means that conditionally the criteria set to build those trades are not readily available. And that is, again, why automation is the way forward. It keeps you patient, keeps you on your hands, wait for that specific criteria that's historically tested to go and give you that green light. And so as a whole, there really isn't much going on right now. So with that, go and enjoy your time. Set that alert with the toolkit, right? You can simply just go ahead, make a right click here. If I can do a right click, and then from there, go into the add alert. You drop down, hit the toolkit, and just simply set an alert based on what you need to see, right? This is the best part about it. You don't have to sit here and wait for trades to play out. You can simply just put your alerts on. The Excelsius will continue to dynamically adjust. And that's about it. Aside from that, there's not really much else you really need to be doing right now because market in its entirety is not in a free-flowing state. Majority of the market's pretty consolidated, pretty contested, and so wait and see. Nonetheless, though, good opportunities if you do set them up. So with that, legends, that is going to conclude today's webinar. I appreciate every single one of you checking in. Trying to make these webinars a little bit more condensed for you all, so we can really get through everything in a shorter period of time. As always, if there's anything else that you guys would like me to see review as time goes on, certainly can. But as a whole, just want to say I appreciate every single one of you checking in, showing up here or after, showing love, showing support with Miracle and everything that we're doing. We got some really exciting things coming out. Yeah, we're just going to keep moving and grooving. And so, as a whole, legends, again, market looks really consolidated. Set your alerts, wait for it to play out. Makes life a lot easier than trying to force trades that aren't necessarily there. And yeah, legends, nonetheless, that is going to conclude today's webinar. I hope you all have an incredible weekend, and we'll see you all on the next webinar Wednesday. Remember, they take place Sunday, Wednesday, Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Check in always.